I never say finished. Nothing is finished. We accomplish. Be'ezrat Hashem, again, it's the time of the year that I get depressed because some of the seniors that are going to leave, I'm not going to see them as often anymore. But hopefully, we get to see new students every year. You see, one of the things that I wanted to share with you actually, it's about the holiday of Pesach is coming. We know that holiday of Pesach has 4 names, but we are more familiar with 2 of them, and that's what we're going to discuss. It actually teaches us a lot of things about relationships. We'll get to it very soon. You see, the main name that we all know about this holiday is called Pesach, which means Passover. Really, Pesach means to skip, to jump. That's why we call it Passover. That means he jumped, he passed over. Why do we use that name? Because in old Egypt, when God, killed all the firstborn of the Egyptians, when he came to the Jewish homes, he passed over it. He jumped over it. He didn't kill the firstborn, the Jewish firstborn. But another name that it has is called the Holiday of Matzot, Chag HaMatzot, because it's a holiday that we eat matzah, the unleavened bread. So these are the most 2 common names that we know. There's another name too, guys. Let me have your attention. There's another name also. It's called the Holiday of the Spring, or Chag HaAviv, because Passover always falls in the spring. The other name that it has is called the time of our freedom, Zman Cherutenu, this time of our freedom, because we came out to be free. Now let me ask you guys a question. Which name do you think the Bible uses? There's only one of these names that the Bible uses, not the way we use it. What is this holiday called in the Torah, in the Bible? They said times of our freedom, spring, Matzah, or Passover. You don't know? Okay. The Torah usually calls it the holiday of Matzot, the unleavened bread. Whenever the Torah says Pesach, it does not mean the holiday. It means the Passover sacrifice that used to bring it a day before Passover and eat the meat. It was like a sheep they had to bring, as they know, thanking God that they got saved. But whenever it says Pesach, Passover means the sacrifice. It's called the holiday of the Matzah. Do you ever hear your parents saying the holiday of Matzah is coming? What do we say at home? What's coming up? If you speak Hebrew, Pesach is coming up. If you're speaking English, Passover is coming up. Now, it's very funny. All the other holidays, we use the same name that the Bible uses. Why do we use a different name than what Bible uses? For example, the holiday of Sukkot, when you go sit in the, whatever you call it, the canopy, the sukkah, the Bible calls it sukkah, we call it sukkah. When we read the 10 Commandments, it's called the holiday of Shavuot. The Bible calls it Shavuot, we say it's Shavuot. When it comes to Pesach, it looks like we're in a disagreement with God. God calls it matzah, we say, no. We're not going to call it matzah. We're going to call it Passover. It sounds like the Democrats and Republicans. Like, you have to use different words. For example, it's very interesting if you follow politics. Everybody says there's a crisis by the border, right? But if you don't want to say there's crisis, there's no crisis. There's a challenge. There's challenges. So it's not a crisis, depending which group you belong to. Well, let's say, is this guy here illegally? Like the word illegal hurt some people. They're not illegal. They're undocumented immigrants, right? Once upon a time, there was a concept of global warming, that the world is going to get so hot, we're all going to die. But then some other problem happened, that some places are getting colder. So you got to call it climate change, no more global warming. So it's a new name. I'm saying? That's what politics is. You don't like a certain name, you change it. Or let's say it more blunt, please forgive me. Anybody could say the truth. A politician has the art to bring a lie and make it sound like the truth. That's what a lot of politicians do. So here it looks like that. God calls it the holiday of matzah. No. After the age of 40, you get a stomachache if you eat too much matzah. You get constipated. So I don't like that name. Let me call it Passover. That's what it sounds like. But honestly, why is it like that? Everything in the Torah must have a reason. So we're going to discuss that. What does God call it? The holiday of matzah. And we don't call it holiday of matzah. We call it the Passover holiday. We're going to go discuss that. But anybody has an idea? Maybe you guys are all smart. You could come with a certain idea. Maybe. Why don't we use the same name that God uses? Any ideas, people? So let's go through that. You see, people, we all have certain relationships, right? We're definitely born in a family, thank God. We have relationships with our parents, with our siblings. You'd have friends in school, right? With the principal, the teachers, God willing, when you guys get older, you get married, you're gonna have businesses, you might become leaders in the community, you might, run big companies, many people working for you. So you're gonna have relationships. Now, sometimes relationships could be very negative. We only see the negative in the other person. I don't see the good. Obviously, that relationship is no good at all. There was actually a certain, sometimes they call Facebook Rabbi Facebook because I learn many things from Facebook. Honestly, sometimes some very smart things in there. So there was one time a teacher that he brought a disposable plate. I think I spoke about it once, and he had a little black dot in the middle, and he brought it to the kids in the elementary school, and he asked them, "Hey, students, kids, what do you see on this?" So all of them say, "We see a black dot." That's what they saw. So the teacher said, let me ask you a question. The whole plate is white. There's only one black dot. Why do you only see the small, dirty black dot, but not the whole plate that is white? So you see, we see the negative a lot of times, but the entire white thing, the beautiful part, we don't see. A healthy relationship, if you want to have a good relationship, especially, in a family, God willing, when you guys get older, you get married between spouses, husband and wife. A good relationship is that you see the good of the other person and you actually recognize it and you admit it. Not that you only see the negative. Let's say the husband comes home late. You always come home late. Does he really always come home late? Not really. Imagine when boys come home, the husbands come home, and supper is not ready on time. You never make supper ready for me. Is that really true? She never makes supper on time. Probably every time she makes it on time. One time she didn't. But again, we shouldn't focus on negative. Now, this answers to us why we use these names for the holiday. You see, what happened is human beings and God have to a certain extent, they have a relationship of spouses too. Because husband and wife could be the closest thing, right? It's the greatest love. And really, that intimate relationship is between God and the people too. But actually, his connection is even more than a husband and wife. What happens if husband and wife don't get along? There could be a divorce, correct? Unfortunately. Can I divorce my children? You can. Even if you send them away, the child is your child. Your wife is not your wife forever. If you get divorced, that's it. She has the right to go get married to somebody else. But my child is my child. I can't choose my children. Once I have them, they're my children. So that's why we find many times God calls us his kids, not only his spouse. Because he wants to tell us that it's not breakable. Even if I want to break myself off from God, it's not going to be breakable. There is a relationship. Please, guys. So therefore, when we look at this holiday, we want to find something nice about God. What did God do beneficial to us when Passover came? He passed over our houses. So it's not that we argue with God, oh, you call it matzah, I hate the name matzah, I don't want to call it matzah. No, because we're in a relationship and actually teaches us how to have our relationships. We look at the good things that God did. When he was killing the firstborn of the Egyptians and he passed over the Jewish homes, he had mercy. He jumped over. That's what we see. But if God is going to say, okay, the holiday is Passover, what is God saying? I'm such a good person. I'm such a good creator. You're a bunch of, naughty kids, but I was so nice I passed over your house. God doesn't want to have such a relationship with us. So he has to say something that shows our beauty. Now, how does matzah show the beauty of the Jewish people? By the way, why do we eat not bread? Why do we eat matzah on Passover? What's the historical fact?
Like it was like the quick thinking of the Israelites, like they were able to make.
Exactly, right? When you want to make bread, you got to wait till the dough rises. The Jews had no time. They just had to make the dough and boom, put it in the oven and get out. So now let me ask you, when you go on a trip, especially if you go to a desert, don't you prepare a lot of food to go out? If you're going to San Diego, big deal, go to Ralph's. Go somewhere else, buy it in San Diego. But if you're going to, I don't know, some desert place, the canyon, what do you call it? Grand Canyon, you got to take food before there's nothing there. Now, the Jews were going into the desert. They even asked Moshe, hold on, give us 5 days. Why in such a rush? Let me make, my food, my whatever, my steaks, and then we go. They didn't ask any questions. God says, rush out. They make the matzah, they go out. So the concept of matzah shows what a great faith we had in God. And God appreciates that. Says, you asked no questions. You trusted me and you left Egypt. So he uses that in the Bible, calling the holiday of Matzah, to teach us, how much he appreciates the faith that we have. So this is honestly a great lesson for us in a relationship. First of all, concept of relationship, not just we're not just takers. God gave something good to us. We gave something to God. So we have to do good to each other. And number two, look at the positive, strengthen it. Don't focus on the negative. If you have to fix the negative, fix it, but don't focus on it. Don't make a big deal. I hope it was useful. If you have any questions, guys, please let me know. Sorry I spoke